Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, there are so many moving parts that are involved in making our favorite TV shows and films that even as a veteran of this industry, it still kind of blows my mind. And guess what? If you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals and pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. And, you know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to assume that you do because you're listening. So please keep listening. Subscribe, give us the old 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere, places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. And plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Letterboxd, the TikTok, the Threads, the Blue Sky. I lose track. There's too many. But we're in the seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? We love to watch it and write about it and talk about it. We love it all. We love it all that much more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us the ultimate kindness, come on by and pay us a visit. On this episode, we're digging back into the Emmy bag as we take a look at a new show on Prime called Overcompensating. It's a fun sort of coming of age comedy that really brings in a bunch of not just dynamic storytelling, ways, but also it's really sort of probably sort of authentically representative for sort of the queer community when it comes to being a coming of age story and that kind of thing. But again, this is one of those shows that does a lot of different stuff to really get the point across. And it's fantastic. And we had a chance to talk with the editing team on the show, Todd Downing and Amelia Allwarden, about their experiences working on Overcompensating, sort of the tools and the dynamics they had to use to sort of give it its very specific feel and so very much more. Like I said, but like I said, Overcompensating is available now on Prime Video. But first, enjoy our talk with Todd and Amelia, the editing team behind this great show, because between you and me, it's a pretty darn good conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, bye. But I mean, officially, just kicking this off, Todd, Amelia, just thank you so much for the time today, and I mean,
No problem.
congrats on your work on the show. I mean, I loved
Yeah.
it.
Oh, great.
Thank you. I'm so happy we love it too.
Now, I mean, I guess the first question is this doesn't feel like a an editor for hire job. This definitely feels a bit more sort of you have to be creatively in tune with what's going on. Like, can you guys walk me through, I guess, sort of the initial stages of coming on to a project like this?
Scott King was the showrunner, and I have a long history of working with him. So I guess we understand each other quite well. And I think he thought that, my sensibility was good for this. And I'll let Amelia speak about hers, but like she worked with Dan Longino before, the director of half the episodes. So there was something in Amelia he saw that was a good match as well.
Yeah, Dan and I worked together on Pen 15. He directed Pen 15, and I was on all the seasons of that show. And I think similarly, like it was a comedy that had a lot of real human emotion and art. And I think when Dan was first telling me about the show and about Scott, I had never worked with Scott before or Benny before, but Scott or Dan was really excited about how funny the show was, but then how like
Mhm.
really like it was rooted in a core of a human emotion and a real kind of traumatizing experience and triggering experience and coming of age kind of, as an 18-year-old. So
Yeah.
I feel like balancing those things and not kind of editing it like a typical comedy seemed to be important. And Todd and I were a good combo for that, I feel like.
Yeah. It's fun because Scott was the showrunner. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, please, please, please.
Oh, okay. Scott was the head writer of Mad TV for a long time, and everyone knows Benny's you know internet hilarity that's going on. So there is like a huge comedy basis, but both of them were very into it being emotional as well. Having an emotional resonance. It's funny. My friend just watched it last night or the night before, and he just texted me. He's like, "You didn't warn me about the feelings." Because it kind of like it's so kooky, like the way it starts. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, this is pure slapstick, and then it kind of just goes for the heart, in such a great way, I think.
Hmm.
Now, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, you guys did the whole run, and I mean, you basically traded off episodes, or was there like one batch and the other batch, or
Well, there's like one guy did, Christian Kinner did um episode 7.
okay,
So then, yeah, it started as us swapping back and forth, and then the deadline got pushed up, so we're you know panicked and got a third editor. It was amazing. I've worked with Christian before. So then, yeah, so I did 4, Amelia did 3, and he did 1.
no, but I mean that leads to my next question though, because there's such rhythm to it. I can't imagine you guys are kind of working sort of independently of one another to sort of get the flow of it all, or is it just a question of you're in the same office on other ends, looking at each other's work as you guys go along?
We edited this show remotely actually, and Todd and I had never worked together before. So I don't know. I mean, I think it was really intentional on both of our parts when we first started. Like we met for coffee in person before we even started seeing a frame of the show because well, I feel it's really important for me to have a close relationship with the editors I'm working with so that we are on the same page about moving toward the same goal, making the show, feel of a piece, making each other better, having ideas come from each other and feel like we're on the same team. And I think as soon as Todd and I met, I feel like we both recognized that in each other and wanted to keep
Mhm.
in communication. So we would talk on the phone, we would show each other little scenes. Oh, what do you think of this thing? What do you think? How's this character playing for you? And it could have very easily, I think, been Todd and I working in our own bubbles and honestly never speaking. We could have very easily had that happen, but we were both really intentional about it because I think like we cared about the project a lot, and it's
Mhm.
like you're only going to make something better by being more collaborative and more open to your fellow creatives making you better every day.
Yeah, I think we must have been in communication every day, and
Yeah.
with at least the text
Yes.
or something. But like, I think there was a lot of showing each other's editors cuts and scenes, and you know, looking for validation from each other.
Yes.
Like, am I
Exactly.
crazy to do this?
And I mean, as I said before, like there's such rhythm to the show, and I was even struck by just the use of music. I mean, obviously, you guys aren't choosing the music, but it's one thing to just like pick a track and then overlay it. But it felt like everything like it was almost syncopated to sort of the action. It
I mean,
really
yeah, we
had
were.
genuine flow. Like, can you guys talk a little bit about not just sort of overlaying the track, but just sort of finding sort of the right physicality to sort of match the track to?
Yeah, I mean, we were really involved with choosing the music. I mean, there were some scripted songs like,
Yeah.
and things like the a cappella team singing certain things are obviously baked into the script and production, but there were a lot of songs that maybe were scripted that we changed once we got the footage, or that, you knew needed a song, but it never had a scripted song. And we worked with
Mhm.
our amazing music supervisors, Jen Malone and Nicole Weisberg, but it was really a big collaboration. Like Scott would think of a song, Benny would think of a song, Todd would think of a song, and we were all really kind of finding the tone of the score too, because
Mhm.
I think like it could be scored a little like a sitcom. It could be scored a little like a drama. And
Yeah.
I think our show falls neatly between the two. And so we had to kind of constantly find the tone and figure out I don't know, what songs to put where.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
And it sort of had like we had like a lot of Charlie's back catalog,
Mm.
to play around. No, it wasn't free, but we had, she's a big part of the show, being I'm not sure, music executive supervisor or something. So we did have like a world that we were working with and using her,
Mm.
and the show sort of is like vaguely in the past. It has kind of,
Hmm.
so we were using her older song because all the songs were, very, not all of them, but like a lot of them, like Lucky and the Lady Gaga, like that was very personal to Benny, and the Nicki Minaj, like that was real in his life when he was coming out in college. So we did have like a framework. It wasn't just like, an endless thing of picking, and we weren't trying to pick like the coolest songs of the day. And then we
No.
also had, this like dream team of composers of Charlie and, Japanese House and George Daniel and Alex Summers. Like it was kind of, all who are very kind of different styles. And it was just like the stuff they came up with was just kind of I've never heard before. Like I've never had a composer, you know, composed music like that before at that level. It was pretty incredible. No offense to other composers I've worked with, but I've had some great, don't get me, but like in that pop world, you know what I mean? Like having these, it's like a super group of pop stars.
No, 100%,
Yeah.
100%.
And the I'm pretty much the same age as Benny, and so we all the songs that were in the show, like a G6 when they're rapping at him, like that is the song that I listened to over and over my freshman year of college, like way too much. And it's
I
very
forgot that.
got very specific memories of that time. It's like a kind of time capsule of a few certain amount of years with certain songs. And like Todd said,
Yeah,
it's not trying to be the coolest song, but it's like
yeah,
evoking the feelings of that time. And
yeah.
yeah.
It's like the bro handshake song that we finally
Yes.
landed on is like I actually started that with Shostakovich Waltz, the Russian composer from early 20th century, because they kind of had this like ballet thing, and then finally it just really stuck out like a sore thumb. And then Jen sent this like ridiculous EDM dubstep thing that we just swapped it to, and it just made us laugh like crazy. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like, and also we actually tried cool songs with it to replace it, and like the cool songs were wrong. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, oh, we need ridiculous songs um, to lean into the comedy.
Well, and I mean, another thing, because I mean, I'll fully admit, as the straight white guy in the room, I don't have any sort of frame of reference in terms of understanding what it means to come out as gay, but this
Mm,
felt like the most honest depiction that I've seen because it wasn't going for the comedy, it wasn't going for the drama, it was allowing kind of both to happen simultaneously. And
yeah,
I can imagine from an editing standpoint, it's difficult to sort of have both those beats kind of coexist in the same moment. I mean,
yeah.
how was it for you guys to sort of capture sort of both energies, if that's the right way to put it?
I think that I know we're probably not supposed to quote Woody Allen, but didn't Woody Allen say comedy is drama plus time or something like, or tragedy plus
I
time or
think, no,
something?
yeah, no, I know the quote you're thinking of. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and I think there's a lot of that with Benny's coming out. You know what I mean? Like it's you could, and for mine too. Like you look back and you're like, oh my God, it was just like ridiculous. It was scary and horrible and liberating. It's just a bunch of emotions all at once. So I feel like there's always comedy in that. You know what I mean? When you're just trying to find out who you are and making bad choices. And
Yeah.
the other characters too were making bad choices. You know what I mean? They're all doing their own bad choices in different ways, which kind of become funny with distance.
Yeah. One of the things I love about the show is how all the main characters are grappling with their identity in different ways. It's
Hmm.
like Carmen only had felt her identity was in relation to her brother. And when her brother isn't there anymore, it's like, what is her
Yeah,
identity? And Peter, who I love as a character because he's such a loser, but he's also like so mean to Grace, but he's so has his own issues and like he has depression and am I frozen?
no, no, you're good, you're good.
Oh,
We can hear you.
yeah.
can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. You're good.
Okay, great. Sorry. You guys were completely frozen for me.
No,
So,
we were just gripped by what
um,
you were saying.
what's the last thing you heard me say? Did you hear it? Everything I said?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like even Peter is like trying to figure out who he is. He thinks he needs to work at the finance company and all these things. And I think
Hmm.
that from an editing perspective, it's like things about our identity that we've done to fit in our lives are funny in retrospect, like what Todd was saying. And when you kind of edit those characters from the perspective of what was it like to feel like that at 18 and being in
Hmm.
those shoes, it becomes real and like the stakes are real because they're real for that character, but then we're also watching from this lens that also makes it funny. So
Yeah.
as long as I think like we succeeded the most when we would be editing like from really a real place of like what would it be like to be in this scene in this moment.
For sure, for sure. No, I mean, I'm curious. Has the job evolved to the point where just, I guess, the profession is more creatively involved in sort of the entire process? Because I mean, I think back to the old Hitchcock joke of him only shooting exactly what he needed so the editor wouldn't fuck up his movie. You know what I mean? It's like it feels like there's becoming a bit of a shift towards the editing process being more creatively dynamic versus sort of a job that you get dropped into.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I think the the I'm biased as an editor and a storyteller. I think that a really great director or producer, storyteller succeeds most when they have an amazing editor too as their storytelling collaborator, somebody who is there to not just push buttons and put the takes together like what they want, but they're there with their own opinions and their own perspective and unique ideas. Because at the end of the day, as good of a director as you can be, I remember that once I went and saw Barry Jenkins speak at a Q&A, and this thing has always stuck with me. It was after a screening of If Beale Street Could Talk.
Mm.
And he had a bunch of his collaborators, like his editor, production designer, a couple different people on this panel. And he said, if I have a movie in my head and it is 100% what I envisioned, the movie comes out and it's 100% what was in my head, then I failed because the movie should be at least 50% better than what I imagined because I'm hiring all these other creatives and these department heads that are helping bring new ideas and elevate my vision to an even higher level. And I think that as editors, like I like to be a collaborator on that level and feel like we are really crafting the story together. And I think that the best directors lean to their editors to be that creative collaborator.
I think it's also tech. I mean, just back to your Hitchcock quote of just shooting what he needs. I mean, he was also shooting on film, which is very expensive, and
Of
just
course,
the
yeah,
way
yeah.
technology has gone.
Yeah.
Like you can just, everyone's shooting multiple cameras, even single camera comedy like ours is not, they shoot multiple cameras, and they can shoot multiple. Everything's is much quicker, so you do have many more options to work with. At the same time, I think can is great, but also sometimes you need to stop editing. I remember when I was doing Russian Doll, I was like trying to do some montage for Natasha, and I was like, I showed it to her, and I was like, oh, but, and she's like, okay, great, it's cool. I was like, yeah, but I still work it. She's like, stop. It's like you can because you can over edit things sometimes into like a blandness, I think. Um, so sometimes leaving the little rough around the edges gives it like the personality as well.
Sure, for sure.
Um, you know,
And I'm gonna just put a ball on this because it feels like we've gotten to a point when it comes to sort of how we consume our films and our TV that there is more of a general understanding with sort of the mass audience that it does take a village to make these things. It's not just one guy,
mm,
it's not just one vision. It's a team, it's everybody. But at the end of the day, what was it about sort of the art of editing that drew you down this path? Because again, like I said, even with my old Hitchcock joke, sort of the art of editing, even as little as 10 years ago or 15 years ago, may not have quite had sort of the appreciation that is maybe coming out more now than it would have done then.
mm. So you mean like what led us to into
Yeah,
editing?
what
Is
what
kind of
maybe
your
what
thing?
drew you into this side of the business, as it were?
Well, for me, I mean, I started like a long time ago. Like I was kind of more in the art world, and I was making these weird films of my own that kind of, played whatever. I got grants and played festivals and galleries and
Yeah, yeah.
museums and stuff like that. And then I was thinking, and then I was always editing on the side to make money. Like, like my first job was how to dress a mannequin for Emporio Armani. It's just like, well, terrible. But so I started standing on the side, and then that started growing more than like my directing stuff. And I was just like, actually, I like editing better because you don't have to deal with like you're just creating the whole time. You're just
Right.
sitting there with the footage. You're always all day, every day. You're just making stuff. Where when you're directing, it's like you're dealing with budgets and you're dealing with people and actors and like you know what I mean, personalities. And so I feel like editing is the most filmmaking part of the process. That's less of all the other stuff. You know.
Yeah. I've As soon as I found out what editing was, like truly, that an editor edited a movie and that was a job for a person, figured that out when I was 15 and I was watching some bonus features.
Oh wow, early.
Yeah, as soon as I watched that, I was like, oh, that's what I want to be. That guy is a person doing that job, and I could be that person doing that job. And that's because I liked filmmaking. I had a VHS camcorder and I would make stuff, but I really didn't care what I shot. I just wanted to go home and like put music to it and do some crossfades. I just thought that was super fun. And yeah, once I had the realization, like, oh, that's a job in itself, I'm like fascinated. I've always loved storytelling. I've always loved reading and watching films and seeing plays. And, I think that I had this realization that I could be kind of, I don't know, the puzzle piece master putting everything together.
Hmm.
And it's so fun. I've tried to be a writer before, and it's like I can't write from a blank page, honestly. And I thrive when I have like all of the tools, like,
Hmm.
footage, and I can mold it into something.
Hmm.
That's where I thrive in being able to reconceive things, I guess. Think of something backwards and upside down, and what if this character was here? And I just find that to be incredibly fun. It's like the
Yeah,
world's like infinite, infinitely
it's like
long
you
book.
have toys that you're playing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just creatively fulfilled all the time. I'm creative all day, and it's
Yeah,
project based, so I'm always kind of taking on a new project. It's
yeah.
Yeah, the best
That's the
job.
other thing great about editing too. It's like, okay, it's 6 to 8 months or whatever it takes, where you're trying to direct a film. I've had friends like work 7 years to get it off the. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, I can't wait that long. Like, I like that. It's just we're constantly, okay, we can do this now. Now we can do that. It's like, yeah, it's one of the more fulfilling jobs, I think,
Well, and
Yeah,
in the
you
film
guys got an
industry.
interesting perspective too, because obviously you're collaborating and elevating someone else's story in ways
Mm,
that the original creator would have not necessarily seen.
mm,
yeah. I mean, and we're the first audience, so we're
Yeah.
watching the footage on a screen in the same way an audience is going to watch the footage on a screen. And we decide if something makes us laugh or if something makes us feel emotional, and we take those moments and we put them together. And
mhm,
so all of our days spent evaluating emotion and reading people's eyes and their facial
mhm.
expressions, and filtering it through our own life experiences, and then like basically putting it back out there to reflect in the way that we are trying to do. So it's
Which I
pretty
think
meta.
also is good to have a good collaboration with the other editor too, because like Amelia said, we're like, oh, is this funny and blah blah. And there's things you love, and then you watch them for 3 months,
Yeah.
and then you start doubting yourself. And there's several times on Amelia, I'm like, is this like, should I cut this? She's like, no, like it's
Like
funny,
that makes me
like
laugh
you,
every time. You can't cut it.
like because you start losing perspective when you watch things. You do because I hope that we're the ones who have seen the episodes more than anybody else.
Yes.
But there's some super fan out there. But you know what I mean? So you have to get some perspective sometimes of, you know, what's still working and what's not working.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. But I mean, honestly, thank both of you, like Todd and Amelia, just because getting perspective on sort of the art form of editing is always interesting to me, and especially whenever I get to talk to people who work behind
Mm.
the scenes and get involved in shows like this. I always love to find out, what made the engine work, what made it all
Oh,
come
okay.
together. You know what I mean? And this is a big part of that. But I mean, just again, congrats on the work, seriously. And I mean, thank you both for the time today. I really appreciate this.
Oh, no, thank you. It was
Very
great.
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
All
It was
right.
so
Well,
nice to meet you, and I'm so glad you liked the show.
Yeah.
100%, 100%. But again, thanks for the time today.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.